right, here we go.
Awesome, man.
Let's see. Welcome to another show, the Beyond Sets and Reps podcast. I am your host, Dr. Coach Pat Ivey, and I am so thrilled. My next guest, actually, it's not an introduction, but it was a suggestion from a player that we both coached. And Jason Ray reached out and said, "Hey, Coach, you need to talk to Coach C." That's Dave Christensen. You need to talk to him, and he's got some things he's working on. I'm proud of him, and I think you two need to get together. So, first off, a former athlete connecting two of his former coaches is a beautiful story within itself. But without further ado, welcome to the show, Coach C, Dave Christensen.
Thanks, Pat. I am excited to be on here. And yeah, how about J Ray connecting us? Um, it just goes right back to the core why I coached all those years. I recruited Jason out of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, and I've had a tremendous relationship with him and his family to this day. He calls me, or I call him monthly. We talk. He's in contact with my kids, which are not kids anymore, but young adults. Just a tremendous young man. I gave Jason his first coaching job out of college. No experience at all. Hired him as a full-time Division I coach. He did a phenomenal job, and it springboarded him into some other big jobs. But yeah, it was awesome. He said he's been on your podcast. I was excited about the opportunity. We spent a lot of hours together, and then as our paths go different ways and we explore different opportunities, just great to get back and reconnect, catch up, and see what's going on in your world as well.
Absolutely. So let's go back to when we first met. That would have been, so I got to do the math now, 2001.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yep.
2001. We had a new coaching staff come in. I was a new assistant in the weight room. I was retained by Coach Pinkel and you all, and it was a shock because I was a student athlete there. So I had been through several coaches there, good people, good coaches, but we needed some structure. We needed some organization. We needed a plan. We needed somebody that would work cohesively with administration and just make it just one big unit. And you all came and did that. And I just remember uh, maybe some of the staff meetings, and the intensity and the attention to detail was a shock to me. And for you, that was normal, but I
Right.
know your coaching career goes back before that moment. So maybe talk a little bit about you got into coaching, why, where, when, up until that moment that we had a chance to meet.
Yeah. So I played high school football, and had a head coach named Tony Whitefield, who was a huge influence on my life. One of the main reasons I got into coaching. I mean, the guy just did so much for me in high school and even after. I wasn't a great student. I wasn't even a great football player, but he took me under his wing and guided me, and I learned a lot of important things as far as structure and discipline at that time, but nothing compared to what I learned when I went on and had the opportunity to walk on at the University of Washington and play for a Hall of Fame coach named Don James. Also at the University of Washington at that time, there was a young receiver coach named Gary Pinkel. And so that is where, I would say our first relationship started, even though he probably didn't know me because I was the bottom of the barrel walk on. But I did come back there after leaving and started my coaching career at some small colleges. I came back as a graduate assistant. And then I worked for Gary there at the University of Washington. I learned all the same stuff that he learned. You know, Don James was very loyal. He was really, really strong when it came to organization, structure, attention to detail, all the things that that I used throughout my coaching career that I use in my talks today. You know, the funny thing is it doesn't really change. I watched a video clip of him giving a presentation in 1978, and all those principles stand true today. And so, you know, I've taken those things and really what I learned from Coach James is what he was teaching was getting us in position to win football games. But really the master plan was how to man, how to be successful, how to be a good person, how to have, how to, get things done, how to have discipline in your life. All those things that we were learning life lessons and winning football games along with it. And so I took what I learned there and had the opportunity to go from there to Idaho State. And it was my first full-time coaching job. And so, what I talk about in my new platform, which is your fourth down, why you need to go for it. I started my coaching career and I coached for 8 years. And in that 8 years, not each year, but total in that 8 years, first 8 years, I made $7,000 total. And I was fortunate enough to meet a wonderful young girl and con her into marrying me, my best recruiting job ever. And she went on to sell cars and be in finance and support us to get my coaching career launched. And so she's doing really well in the car business. And then I get this opportunity to get my first full-time job at Idaho State. And she's making about six figures now. And I get the call, Dave, we got a job that pays $18,000, no benefits, no car. And my response was, how soon do you need me there? And that was it. We went to Idaho State. We turned down, she quit a six-figure job. We were both making together probably less than $50,000, but it was my great opportunity. And oh, by the way, we had one baby with us and had another one there. But 3 months after we had our second child there in Idaho, we got fired. I got fired.
Wow.
Now I'm out of a job. I got two babies and my wife's, selling cars. And lo and behold, Coach Pinkel has an opportunity for me at Toledo and offers me the wide receiver coaching position there. And so I jumped on that, took that. I was excited about it. The only problem was I got hired in February. It was hiring freeze till July. I didn't get a penny until July, and it wasn't retro.
Wow.
So I went there, coached at Toledo. We coached 9 years at Toledo. After the 96 season, I was promoted in January to the offensive coordinator. But once again, there was a hiring freeze, so we can't pay you that salary until July, and it's not retro. So, when you talk about sacrifice, I am always looking for people that are willing to sacrifice because I lived it, and then one night, Thanksgiving night, 2000, I get a call from Gary Pinkel and he says, I've been offered the Missouri job. And he says, and I can pay you $104,000. Now, you'll only have to be the O-line coach, the offensive coordinator, or the assistant head coach and run the camps. And so those are all my titles. And my wife and I look at each other and we're like, can you believe we are going to make $100,000 coaching football?
Wow.
Today, that position pays $2 million. But the fact is, at that point in time in our lives, it was a great opportunity because that was the time that my wife was able to stop working and stay home and raise our kids. And we had one more at that time. So we had the three kids. And so, going to Missouri was huge. And it was not without, ups and downs, as you know. And so, we went to Missouri. We had a great run. Obviously, we had, as you mentioned, we needed a change there. I would imagine for a lot of you guys that were there, it was a bit of a culture shock. And it's like we show up and it is all guns a firing, right? I mean, it
Right.
is intense. I talk often about getting out of your comfort zone, and I managed the same way Gary did. With a philosophy that, listen, when you walk through the doors into this building, we're going to force you out of your comfort zone. My job is to make people that are underneath me uncomfortable. Their job is to learn to perform when they're uncomfortable, because then that's where growth happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is kind of the philosophy. I know early on, when you're not used to that, and I'd been raised through the Don James era, I understood the process and how it worked. If you haven't, you're probably like, what's going on here? But and to this day, I still believe that holds true. I remember, Pat, we used to put our practices were so hard, and we forced players to compete on a daily basis, that games became easy, right? That we were going to take them to places. I often said this too: I'm going to take my players to places they can't take themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And same with people that work under me. I'm going to take those guys and force them out of their comfort zone and help them get to places they can't get themselves. And that's what we did. And it was just it was great. To come into Missouri, to have the support that we had. We had a great AD and Mike Alden, obviously. We had a great staff. We had good people working there, and turn that program around. And, it's interesting because, I tell a couple stories about, again, my new platform is Your Fourth Down. Well, we all have fourth downs in our life, right?
Right.
And, I had some early in life, 1975, April 14th, when I lost my only sibling to myocarditis.
Yeah.
That was a huge time in my life, and I had to there was a pivot. What was I going to do? Okay. My philosophy is this: I'm always going to go for it. I'm not punting. I'm not giving up possession. When life's fourth downs come after me, I'm going for it. And so, I had that pivotal fourth down. Then, I've been fired 3 times in my career. Okay. Those are fourth downs. What are you going to do? I'm going to go for it. Believe me, I got to play and I'm ready to go. And so I talk about that a lot, but I had 2 crucial fourth downs in my career at Missouri, and they propelled me to have success later on. And those huge fourth downs, the first one was after the 2003, let's see, 2001, 2, 3, we went to a bowl. After the 2004 season, we didn't go to a bowl. So
Right.
we'd gone 2 seasons, no bowl. We finally got him into a bowl game. The next year, we didn't go to a bowl game. And, social media wasn't like it is now, but for some reason, my email was available.
Mm.
So I got plenty of thoughts on my coaching from people around. And so after not going to a bowl game in 2004, I went down in my basement that year during the bowl season. And that was before there was picture in a picture and all that fancy flat TV screen stuff. So I set up 3 box TVs and somehow got them rigged up to the cable. And I could watch 3 college games at once. So I watched every bowl game. And as I sit there and I watch the bowl games and I watch what people are doing offensively, Susie comes down and I said, hon, I said, I've got to go into Coach Pinkel's office and tell him that we have to make a change. I have an idea, some things that we can do that I think will give us a chance with the players we have, and we'll be able to recruit to it. But I got to go in and I want to spread it out. I want to play fast. I want to do these things. She goes, well, how coach is, he doesn't like change. And we don't just change to make change, right? And I mean, we always critiqued every single thing we ever did, and we would always adjust to make it bigger. This was a change. And so she goes, well, he doesn't like to, change. And I said, I understand that. But if we don't change, we are all going to get fired. Bottom line. And so I go into coach's office the next week when we go back to work, and I walk in. I say, Gary, can I talk to you for a minute? Yeah, what's up? I said, hey, I would like to scrap our playbook, the entire thing from the front page to the back page. I want to implement a spread, no huddle, up-tempo offense. He looks at me, thinks about it, and Is that what we need to do to win? Yeah, I think that's what we need to do to win. So he gives me, the reins to change it all. And so we start implementing this offense and building it. And so the next week I go in, I go, Coach, I said, I also don't want to huddle. And he's got his glasses and he looks up and goes, ever? I go, no, ever. And so, you know, thank goodness that Gary Pinkel had faith in me and trust in me and gave me full authority to change everything and go to that spread up tempo offense. And we built it around our personnel. And then the next year, well, I think it was the next 4 or 5 years I was there, we were in bowl games. And so that was a pivotal time, pivotal fourth down in my life that, here we are on the brinks of being fired. I mean, if that's not a fourth down in life, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
And my philosophy again is, hell, I'm going for it. And I went in there, we did it, and it paid off, and we were able to have success. And then the next biggest moment in my coaching career, and I've been studying this and looking at it as I'm preparing my keynote talks, came November 24th, 2007. And I think you might remember we're on a bus in Kansas City pulling into a place called Arrowhead Stadium. And there's a cloud over us coming in, okay? And you could smell the barbecue and the smoke as we drove through the parking lot. And it's about a mile drive down to where we got off our buses. And it's lined up with Missouri fans and Kansas fans. And I mean, it is an unbelievable atmosphere. And that's outside the stadium. Yeah. We're ranked number 4 in the country. They're ranked number 2 in the country. They're 11-0. We're 10-1. It's going to become the most televised football game ever watched in the history of college football up to that point in time, which I was told by Bill Clinton, who I'd met a few months later, that was the case. Wow. It's my understanding it was the largest crowd at that point in time ever at Arrowhead Stadium. So we're going to pit number 4 against number 2. And the winner, by the way, was going to become number 1 in the country. Yeah. And so we come into that game, and, it's what a matchup, what a game, atmosphere. Game day is there, Kirk Herbstreit, Corso, the whole crew. I mean, I think Musburger called it. I mean, it was gigantic. And so we're kind of back and forth in that first quarter. If you remember, it's a 0-0 score. We drive down. We're down on the 1 yard line. It's 4th and 1 on the 1 yard line. No score in the game. And Gary says, what do you want to do? Well, because I believe in the attitudes of our players, the discipline of our players, and the preparation of our players, I don't hesitate. Go for it. That's what we're going to do. Let's go for it. Coach gives me the old, is that our best play? And I wanted to say, what do you think? I'm saving it? But, it's just a reaction, for him. So, we line up in a quads formation and put 4 guys out to the left. I call it spark left. We throw a screen out there. Hit Martin Rucker, Kaufman, and those guys are blocking. We're going in zone touchdown. And, that was the first score in the game. Okay. But that was the difference in winning and losing that game. It was a 1-score game. And so we go on to number 1 in the country the next week. And as I tell people in my talk, that propelled me into a head coaching job, and also it propelled me into becoming one of the first coaches in the Mountain West Conference to sign $1 million contract. So, what a pivotal fourth down in my career, and so it was awesome. I mean, it was just an unbelievable atmosphere. Our kids. We had such great competitors. I don't know that I've ever coached a group of kids that were such high level players, but their integrity and their care about each other was even better. They were better kids than they were players, and they were all American players. Mm-hmm. And so just an experience, the greatest experience in my coaching career. And I've had a chance to work with a lot of great kids, and I love them all, but this was really a special group. We had a special staff. I mean, we had done something significant when we had won that football game for the Missouri faithful.
Yeah, you bring up 2004, and I can't help but to know that I'm a part of this story that you're telling. And I was
Absolutely. Huge
I
part of it.
played a small part, and
No, not small.
we but I went to, so I was there when you all came in, and then I left shortly after. I was there for maybe 2 seasons, and then I left maybe just 1 season. So a year and a half. I went to Tulsa to be the
Yep.
head strength coach there, and
Yep.
we helped to turn that program around. And then there was an opening, and Coach Pinkel called me back. So 2004, and here I am thinking, all right, I've just been a part of the largest turnaround in the nation at Tulsa. Going to bring some of this. 2004, we fell flat. And what I didn't realize is the part of the story you just told about changing the offense, because I remember having to change up how we train the players, because the amount of time in between plays, we went from about 40 seconds in between plays on average till about 21, 22 seconds in between plays. So that work to rest ratio, the way we're trained to prepare players for, cardiovascularly, like, that had to adjust. But it wasn't our defensive players are going like, well, we're not, why do we have to run with less rest? When the offense is doing it, it's like, well, you know what? Eventually we were playing against people that were starting to copy what you went to Coach Pinkel about, right? Like that it started to, the spread started to spread throughout the
It did.
conference.
And our
And
kids had trained, and
yes,
so we could adapt to it defensively because
yep,
they played against it every day in practice.
yep,
And you're right, the way you trained our players had to change from what people had done in the past because we were on the move constantly, right? And you get 40 seconds between a play, but we were trying to snap the ball under 18 seconds.
mhm,
So, we weren't going in a huddle resting up. We were
yep,
trying to snap the ball as quick as we could get lined up again. And so you had to train them.
yep,
The training regimes were completely different. And we didn't have to condition and practice. You got those kids ready for training camp. And then once we got in training camp, it was conditioning all practice, every practice.
yep,
It was getting them to that point and then keeping them healthy throughout the year,
yeah,
and you guys continued to lift weights, which was crucial. So many people don't believe in lifting during the season. Some of our players are getting stronger during the season. And just, the whole crew that you had down there. I mean, the nutrition thing was becoming big then, and we were working with them on the nutrition part, and the science of what you were doing was changing. And you were always ahead of the game and cutting edge of what was going on training wise. But I think, after us changing what we did offensively, you were probably ahead of most of the country that was looking at implementing the spread offense and figuring out how they were going to train their athletes because they hadn't done it before. You'd done it
yep.
and did it with great success. We had great success because our players are in such great shape.
Yep. And I think it was a lot for the receivers, obviously. We had to have good rotations and things like that, good system. But the offensive linemen had to sit in their stance. So basically, that's an isometric contraction. They had
Yep.
to sit there and then fire off. So that is hard to do. Be in a static position while you're paying attention to what's going on, the plays being called, have
And then be
poise,
physical on the snap.
and then be physical on the snap. Like, that is a hard thing to go from. You're in the huddle, you jog up to the line,
Yeah.
make a couple of checks. You're only in your stance for a couple of
And,
seconds.
and, and you don't have your hand down because we never put our hand down. So,
Yeah.
you're
So,
all coiled up, you're all locked up and ready to go. And then, I mean, yeah, it was a whole different deal. And and,
yeah.
and I'll tell you what, Pat, well, I always talked about having thoroughbreds and not plow horses on the offensive line. And we always had really good, skilled players up there. I mean, they were trained well, but I mean, they were athletic for offensive linemen. They were more like thoroughbreds than plow horses.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, did a great job with those kids, and so many local Missouri kids that we brought in there, and when we were at Missouri, it was a developmental program, which they don't give you time for that anymore. Everybody just
Right.
goes to the portal. You develop these kids. Okay. They came in there, you trained them, you tested them 3 times a year. You saw the numbers going up. We were building football players. And now it's hard to do that because one, the player doesn't have patience to be built. He wants to transfer because he's not playing right away. Everybody in the administration giving money has an expectation of winning right away. And now it's a open market free agency. And
Right.
so players now, I mean, you can't blame them. They have an opportunity to go get more money somewhere else. They're going to go get money. I mean, shoot, everybody in America, if they get a higher paying job, is going to take it just about, right? Well, you
Yep.
can't expect these kids not to do it. They didn't make the system. They're just playing the system the way it's been designed. And so it's a
Yep.
different world out there
It,
right now.
it's different. I do believe we would have found a way to be successful, but we would have had to change the player development program, which was the winning edge program, mat drills and all of that. It would have had to have become a player management program, right? Like
Right.
development, we would have to transition from development to management. And I know we would have found a way to be successful, but what I really loved about what we did is the way we recruited. There was a system for recruiting. There was a system for recruiting athletes, and then we would teach them football if they didn't know it at the level they needed to. But that for me, that was fun because we were on the same page. We were on the same page as far as we're going to recruit good kids. They're going to have great attitudes. We're going to challenge them. We're going to develop them. Even walk-ons, same thing. It didn't matter if you were a scholarship, walk-on. Everyone needs to achieve to be the best version of you every day, and that's changed today.
Yeah, if you're not careful in this day and age, if you want to coach them hard, you want to push them out of their comfort zone, they might decide it's time to go somewhere else. It might be a little, easier on me. So yeah, it's a different world out there. That's why, when I retired, about after the 2020 season, we're just starting to get the transfer stuff. The NIL was coming around. I just didn't want to have to deal with those things, so I retired. Then I got bored. Then I went over to Europe and coached professional football in Poland for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I'll never leave our country again. It gave me the greatest appreciation for the
Yep.
United States that I've ever had.
Yep.
I love this country. I think everybody that has a gripe ought to go live 5, 6 months in a foreign country.
Mm-hmm.
We're blessed. I'm blessed to be here, and so I retired from that, and now I've started my speaking business and consulting business, and really enjoying that. Looking for opportunities to get in front of people, share my story, share my new platform. Your Fourth Down. Talk about my 4 downs to success, which is adapt, which is the A is for attitude, and the D is for discipline. The other A is for attention to detail and preparation, and the P is for perseverance. And if you do those things consistently every time you're faced with a 4th down, then you'll get that 5th one, which is the T for touchdown. And we all want to have success and have touchdowns in life. And so I'm really excited about the platform. I'm getting ready to sign a book deal to write the book on my story, Your Fourth Down, and going out now and have been able to schedule some speaking engagements, do some keynote talks, and do some consulting. So really excited about that direction. I just want to be able to go back and share, the things that we've been talking about, the things that I've been able to learn from other people, and give back. And the big thing, and I really feel strong about this. The things in my adapt framework take absolutely no ability.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a low income house. I was a block down from the projects, a block up from the train tracks. We lived in a house with a 1-car detached garage that you couldn't even fit a car in. I had nothing. I was the first in my family to get a college degree. As I mentioned earlier, I worked in the first 8 years of my career to make $7,000. So, I've persevered my life, and what I truly believe is that the things that gave me a chance to be successful are all part of that adapt principle. I wake up every day, my cup's overflowing. I got a great attitude. That's just how I am. I just, I wake up at 5. I'm retired. I wake up at 5:30 and I get in my office and I'm working on things because, I just have a great attitude attacking the day. In fact, I'm so optimistic that hell, I'd go hunt down Moby Dick in a rowboat. I mean, I'm ready to go every day and I feel positive about it. And so, I have a great attitude toward things. And then I think everything that has happened in my life, every success that I've had is because of discipline. Because what I lacked academically, what I lacked athletically, what the things I wasn't able to do, one thing I knew I could do is I could have more discipline than everybody I had to compete against. So I may not be as good as them, but I had great discipline in my life and I can push myself to do things that, other people won't do. And so I have great discipline on a daily basis. And then, attention to detail and preparation. I've been, extremely organized in everything that I've ever done. Okay. And I learned that from Don James and Gary Pinkel. And so, I always have a plan for whatever's going on. It's funny, I talk to young coaches a lot and they'll say, well, I want to be a coordinator. I said, have you been preparing? Well, yeah. I mean, well, no, you haven't. No, you haven't. I said, you have to prepare long before your next opportunity comes. I was with Coach Pinkel for 17 straight seasons. I interviewed 4 times in 17 years with somebody else. All 4 of them were head coaching jobs. And I had prepared every single month for 17 of those years till I got my head coaching job. I had a binder and I was building what I was going to be as a head coach, what my program was. So preparation, attention to detail and preparation is huge. And then, as everybody has in life, there are setbacks, right? I mean, you're going to have to persevere in life. That's how it is. I mean, you might wake up and be driving to the park or whatever, and you get a flat tire, all 4 tires blow out. I mean, yeah, you got to persevere. What are you going to do? You can't just get all mad and I mean, it can be big or small, but you have to persevere. So if you have those other things and the ability to know that there'll be setbacks and you can persevere, then you got a chance to score touchdowns in your life. Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, I'm excited about the platform. I've lived it. It's my story. I'm anxious to get out and tell the story. I got great examples. Jason Ray is one of those when it comes to attitude. I tell in my keynote talk that, when I recruited Jason, he came in, was a wide receiver. I get into a lot more detail, but here's a young man that in his entire time at Missouri doesn't start a game. He's not a starter. And his teammates vote him captain. Why did they vote him captain? They voted him captain because he had a great attitude. Every single day, he had a great attitude. He had great discipline. He was always prepared. He had injuries along the way. He persevered. That guy, his life is a touchdown. I mean, he constantly is scoring touchdowns in life. And he's doing, well now. He's a wonderful father and husband. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of that kid. And so, I have a lot of these great stories that support these ideas on my 4 downs to success. And so, it's an exciting platform. I'm looking, for opportunities. If any of your listeners are looking for a keynote to come in and talk on some leadership and, your 4th down, why you should go for it. Shoot, have them reach out to me because I'd love to do it.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm going to run it back. First play, first down, attitude. Second down, discipline. Third down, attention to detail. You're going to go for it on 4th? Oh, yeah. We're going to persevere. We get it. We score. Touchdown. And that's the acronym of ADAPT. So you're adapting. And I've heard a lot of stories and a lot of examples in what you shared here on your ability to adapt, even what you're doing now. So from coaching to, okay, I'm going to retire. That's a transition. Wait a minute, not quite ready to do that. Let me go overseas and try it out. Okay, whoa, I did it, but let me transition back. Let me adapt again. Okay, I'm not going to coach, but I've got a lot to give. I've got to, and that's what coaching is teaching. You're just teaching through. We just happen to teach through sport, and so now you say, okay, I know a lot of people. I've got a lot of experiences. I have the ability to. I'm articulate. I can tell stories. Well, let's turn that into the next thing. So I
Another
appreciate
pivot.
what you.
Another pivot, Pat.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Pat. I've tried retirement now. I think two or three times, and I failed miserably. Uh,
Mm,
I can't do it. I don't need to work every single day, 16 hours a day like I used to, but I have to have something that drives me when I get up every morning that I'm excited to be able to go and work on and do. And I've found that, being able to share my story, to help other people realize, man, it doesn't matter where you start or where you're at. It doesn't have to define where you finish.
yeah.
And so that's been my life. And now, I told the guy, I had a consultant out here working with me last week. I said, I am more excited about the opportunity to go out and share my story and help other people have success than I've been at any time in my life. And I've had a lot of great things in my life. I just 63 years old and I still want to, get after it. So it's exciting.
All right, I want to pause there because I hadn't done the math. And you said 63 years old. First of all, when six came out of, then I realized, hold on, well, I'm in my 50s, so that makes sense. But
It's
you
coming, buddy.
so I got to give you a compliment. You don't look 63. You
Well,
don't
thank you.
sound 63. I know you don't act 63. You have this spirit about you that says there's something more, there's something next. I have to go get it. And you can tell that you have the motivation, the desire every day because you're still attacking the day and you it comes off of you. So I think you're going to be really successful in your next venture. I'm excited to do whatever I can do to help you, and we can continue to help each other, which is
Absolutely.
which is amazing within itself. Um, Coach BJ Brian Jones called me last week. He didn't know. I didn't tell him about this, but
Okay.
he's on his next. What's next? He's teaching. I mean, the
Professor Jones.
I remember the first time we were going over the Winning Edge program, and we were Coach Pinkel, and we're in the staff room. So we didn't go to the field. We're in the staff room, and he has every coach demonstrating different aspects of the Winning Edge program. Coach Jones's job was to go over the 40-yard start. I'm looking at the other strength coaches going, the football coaches are teaching the start, and he's talking about hammer and fixed and rotating upper body. That was his part. And the passion, I'm going like, okay, this is different. Coach Jones is different. Like he went into this zone, and I heard the same thing 20 years later, just last week. This focus, this intensity, this desire, this purpose, this passion. When he's talking about teaching, it is just like he's talking to Zach Abram about running up the middle and and ball leverage.
Ball leverage and the five pressure points on the ball and all. Yeah, that's awesome. That is great.
So
BJ, I had a chance to work with him 17 straight seasons.
yeah,
Close friend, just top shelf guy. I mean, great role model, great leader. He's phenomenal coach. Cares about players. And just all the things you want in a coach. He can push them, he can love them, and I would love to be in the lecture hall when BJ's giving the lecture. That is so awesome. I knew he had done some. He was like an adjunct professor because I tried to hire him in Europe. I wanted to take him to Europe with me.
yeah,
So, but he had this teaching gig, and it sounds like it's taken off even more now. So good for him. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yes, it has. He's teaching at a few different schools now, different, and it's master's level classes. It's about teaching coaching.
Uh-huh.
So it's,
That's awesome.
it's he's got that intensity. So, but so many of you all came in. So when a staff comes in like that, there is a takeover in culture. There is a takeover in culture because you don't have to learn each other. You don't have to teach each other what it is. You already know. You go in and you see the weaknesses, you see the low hanging fruit, you attack it together, and everyone else around has to get on board or get out the way. And
Yeah, and it doesn't slow down for you to, to catch on. I mean,
right.
you can jump right in there. It's like getting on the escalator. It's already moving,
Yes.
or the people mover at the airport, man. You better get on that thing. Your feet better be going, or you're going to stumble.
Yes.
And yeah, it's and it's tough because coach wasn't real patient for letting guys learn it. He expected you to be around the guys that knew it and learn from them and get caught up quickly, right? And
Yeah.
but what a great system. We had a lot of great coaches that bought into the system and have had great success since.
Yeah.
I look at my coaching tree just when I was a head coach at the University of Wyoming and the type of young men that I brought in there. First of all, I never put a coach on the board and talked football one time when I hired them. Never, ever talked about football. I wanted to know, one, do they have great integrity? Two, are they a great role model? And three, are they a good husband and father? That was it. That's all I cared about. I could teach them the rest. If they had those qualities, they would want to learn the rest, and they would. Three of my defensive line coaches are in the NFL. One of my defensive back coaches is in the NFL. My defensive secondary coach is Alex Grinch. He's at Wisconsin now.
Yeah.
Marcus Arroyo is up for the Broyles Award. He was my offensive coordinator. He's at Arizona State. Jim Harding was my line coach. He's at Utah. He's been there for about 10 years, one of probably the best line coach in the country. Jason Ray was on my staff. Jason was at Kansas State, Oklahoma State, a lot of different places.
Yeah.
I just have guys that are everywhere. I had a guy named Trent Greener I hired to be my strength coach. Trent
Yep.
now trains special forces around the world. He just, was a tremendous guy. Much like you in the science of what's going on. I know you're supposed to lift weights. I don't know how you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to do with them, but you strength coach slash scientists, are vitally important in this day and age. And so, he was with me, and I just had, so many, good coaches that had gone on after they left, and their careers have springboarded, and they'll continue to be great coaches.
Yeah.
And so, and it all comes from the roots of Don James, and it's still good. In fact, I just went to Washington a month and a half ago. They did a showing of a documentary on Don James. It's called the Dog Father, and I was in the documentary, and it's an hour long. They're looking to sell it now and get it out there, but it was tremendous honor to be in it. But to know that what he was about still proves to be solid today is just incredible.
Yes. So I want to talk about something, and you and I did not prepare for this, meaning
Okay.
I didn't give you a set of questions ahead of time. We know who we are, but something that I did pay attention to you, but I wish I had sat down with you and allowed myself to be taught by you. And this is outside of sport. This is outside of the weight room, but you were into the management space of renting houses.
I did. I did do that.
Yeah, and I I think that's so important because our identities can get tied up into the jobs that we do. And it's important to identify as a football coach when you're a football coach. It's important to identify as a husband and as a father. But I looked at the balance you were able to maintain because, you know, you do need to have your attention off of the sport at times. You don't need to be 24 hours, 7 days a week. You do need to take a break. And I thought for you, I don't know if that was a hobby or if you were thinking backup plan. But for coaches or anyone out there, I just want them to hear from you why you did that. What did it give you? Would you do it again? Do you think it's a good idea? Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, back, when I was coaching, when I left Missouri, okay, we were ranked number 4 in the country. We're ranked number 1 in the country. I was the offense coordinator. I was the O-line coach. I was the assistant head coach. I ran the camps. When I left, I was making $360,000. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. That was good money. I never dreamed of making that kind of money. That position today pays about 2 million. Okay. So the money wasn't like it is, and again, I didn't start making money until 2000. So I had no retirement. I had no money saved. I couldn't. I lived paycheck to paycheck. In fact, until I started making more in my last couple of years there, because I had to, put 3 kids through college, and so you just trying to survive. So I was looking for another means of trying to do something from an investment standpoint to try to help the future of my family. And so when I left Toledo, I had been a member of a investment club. It was just like 10 guys, and every month we'd meet and we'd put $100 in, and we would buy a couple stocks. We'd have dinner, buy a couple stocks, and we had this little club.
Yeah.
So when I left, about a year later, they said, "Hey, we're going to disband. Because people have moved and we can't meet and this and that." So I had a check for like, I don't know, maybe $8,000 or something. And I knew if I just took that check and put it in savings, that Susie would find a way to make it disappear. She's a magician when it comes to money. And so I said, okay, I know this. Everybody talks about how real estate's such a good deal, and if you buy a house and they appreciate, you can sell them and whatnot. And if you buy it and then you rent it, somebody else is making the payment for you. So I went and we bought our first rental house and started renting it out, and the payments were paying for just about everything, and so once we established some leverage on that house and had some equity, then I had friends that I'd met in the bank, and they were able to help me leverage against the equity and buy another one. So then I had 2. And then we had those for a year or so, and had renters in them. So anyhow, I did the same thing, never really came up with any more money, but ended up with 6. And so now I got 6 homes, and Susie would manage them for us and handle the bill paying and collecting rent. I would go down because a couple college kids, if I knocked on the door, I'd get their attention. But so it just paid for itself. And then later on, I sold 2 of them, or no, I sold 4 of them that were in one area to one other investor guy in town that has rentals. So I sold 4 of them. I took all the money from those 4, put in the other 2. Then eventually I sold 1 and I paid it off. And so now I have 1 house that I own outright. And then I eventually sold that, and then was able to, take a $20,000 investment, turn it into a $180,000 investment. And so, yeah, and you put in some of your own money along the way. You have to end up doing that because things break or whatnot. But or if they sit empty, which in a college town is a pretty good deal. So yeah, it was just another way to try to put some more money into our family's retirement or
Yes.
living situation. And so I always have tried to have other interests. I spent a lot of time in football. I love the game of football, but it was my job and my career. It didn't define me on who I was. So my family has always been important. I've always been around for them, and Gary Pinkel allowed that to happen by not having us work ridiculous hours. We were home at night to have dinner with the kids. I was gone early in the morning, but I was always home at night. I was on the road. I recruited some, but when any chance I had to, if I had an opportunity, I'm out recruiting, and I could go home the next morning, and I was within a 5-hour drive at a hotel, I was going home that night. I mean, I'm just going to drive the 5 hours and get home. I wanted to be home. And so, I always had that as a priority. That's, my off time. I never went to, sports bars and drank beer with the guys. don't get me wrong, I like a beer, I'd have it at my house, but I want to be with my wife, I want to be with my family, and so that was always a priority. But that and having other outside interests, I think it helps keep you balanced, right? Because there's so much pressure, and I think about this a lot in the last couple of months. Is that there was constant pressure as a college football coach every minute of every day. And it's even worse now with the portal and all the things and cell phones and all that. It's funny. When I first recruited, I'm at the University of Washington. They let go of the offensive line coach, and they said, Dave, you're going to go recruit San Francisco tonight. So I called my wife and said, we got any pressed white shirts and sports coats clean? I got to hit the road tonight. And so I'd been on some airplanes, but I'd never been to San Francisco other than to touchdown and take off. And so I'm going to go down to San Francisco. I got to figure out where I'm going the next day. I got to go to these schools, see these kids. Oh, by the way, there were no cell phones. So I had a stack of Rand McNally maps on the plane that I'm trying to find the school through the grid, circle it, and then figure out my hotel, and then write down my turns all the way to get there.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, that's how you figured out where you're going. You had it written down. If you took a wrong turn, Lord knows. I mean, you may never find your way back. And then I had a calling card. So you go to a payphone. That's how you made your calls, at a payphone. Okay. And then you dial in 20 numbers, and then you dial in the number you want to dial. And then if you hit any of those 30 numbers wrong, you start over again. Okay. And so that was how we recruited. And, if you wanted to call a recruit, you tried to have it scheduled that I was going to call you Tuesday at 7 o'clock, because you can't just call them, that they're not around and the phone's at the home. It's not with them. It was just a different world. And so, yeah, it was, things have changed quite drastically all for the better, all for the better. Right. I mean, don't we all go anywhere we want to go? We just put it in our phone, right?
It's amazing. And you just talk to it and it talks back. And yes.
Oh, absolutely. Or say, hey, AI or chat GTP, say this for me. And it spits it out and sounds a heck of a lot better than I sound. So,
well, Coach, this has been amazing. I want to let you close it out and just share with our viewers and listeners, maybe some final thoughts that you have, and we'll finish it up.
Well, first, if anybody is interested in having me come and consult or speak at their company or business or whatever, reach out to me. You can get me on coachchristensen.com. That's my website. And, I would, I'll go anywhere. And so, reach out, get in touch with me. Follow my social media. I post every day content out there on just trying to be positive on leadership and team building, those type of things. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and X, I guess it's called now. So follow me, give me a follow on those things. And Pat, just getting back and spending some time with you again was awesome. I mean, we had some great success together. I keep going back. We had such great people, great role models, hardworking people that were all striving for one common goal, and we achieved those goals, and that's very, very rewarding. I would have to say probably my years at Missouri were the greatest years of my coaching career. My kids all graduated from Rockbridge High School. We were very blessed to be there. Got just tremendous friends in the state of Missouri. I truly feel blessed. I had a blessed career. I always had a job. I always had a paycheck. There was always pressure to win, but I always worked, for the most part, with good people. And now it's time to pivot and try to give back and share the things that have helped me be successful along the way with other people.
Well, this has been a pleasure. Your memory is intact. Appreciate all the details. And I can tell you all, and we'll have your information in our show notes. I can tell people you won't be disappointed. You have questions, Dave Christensen will have answers. So, Coach C, thank you so much. looking forward to the next time we get to interact, especially in person. Tell Susie we said hello. Um, I'll tell Starla the same. Uh,
Absolutely.
and we'll catch up next time.
Great. Thanks, brother. Love you, man.
Love
Take
you
care.
too. All right,
All right.
take care.
Thanks, Pat.